This is going to be a power-packed moment for you. I'm serious about that. Every now and then, we get to teach the Word of God timely truths. And you know, I work with Ed Rush with a program that we do for business development, for a business mastermind, actually, for entrepreneurs and visionaries that want to seriously get traction on building the ministry or enterprise or business that God's called them to. And I want to give you a verse here, and then I'm going to flip it over to Ed. And the verse is from Psalm 90, verse 12. So teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Or King James says, Lord, teach me to number my days that I might apply my heart to wisdom. So there's these two ideas. Limited number of days. Every life has like a, you go to the graveyard and you see born, dash, died. The dash is everything. It's what you did between the time you were born and the time you died. And the Bible says you can gain a heart of wisdom so that you can number your days effectively. Then it goes on to verse 16, which is so powerful. Let your work appear to your servants. In other words, show us your work. What are you doing that you're inviting us to join you in? And let your glory to their children. In other words, a wise man, a good man, lays up treasure for his children's children. I think about that a lot now as I got grandchildren. What am I doing in the work of God that is going to help my children and their children? And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands. For us, yes, establish the work of our hands. What a powerful word. That word in Hebrews is worth looking at. It's as though God puts his hands on the thing to make it strong. And so let's talk about that, applying our heart to wisdom, because there's a certain process that great businesses go through that apply to a life as well. And in the secular world, they start off with what they call a BHAG. Now in the secular, Collins and those guys that we study in business call it a big, hairy, audacious goal. That's your 10-year, if you're older, to 25-year vision. What is it that you want to accomplish? What's the big vision? It could be to inspire a new generation of Christian entrepreneurial leadership. Big goal for a teaching company that wants to do that. But then that goal has to be brought down in a process, so that from level to level to level, it comes down to the days. And the days have a number. And what do I do with my day to make that happen? Now, let's see if I can get my magic board here to bring over. Oh, there we go. This makes my work a lot easier. I'm going to show you what this process is. I'm going to flip it over to Ed. It starts with your core purpose, your 10 to 25-year, we would say, big, holy, audacious goal. What's the BHAG over your life? Do you ever stop and think about what do you want to have accomplished during the next decade? And then you take that and you break it down to a 3 to 5 year strategic thrusts or anchors. People always overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 3. So you take that big 10-year vision you've got, your 20-year vision, for your business, for your ministry, for your life. And then you break it down to, well, what are the 3 to 5 year strategic thrusts? What are the things we have to do or accomplish in order for that to happen? And that gives you your 1-year goals. Now, how am I going to do the 1-year goal? Well, by the way, you know what I'm giving you? I'm giving you the fast mini course here for a couple of days with Ed that you can sit in on. You could be in the prophetic environment where we help you download your big, holy, audacious goal. We create a prophetic environment in which you can dream again on what God calls you to do. We're going to be doing it at the best location possible for what we do, because he's a fighter pilot. And I said, let's do a Mach 10 coaching program for accelerated development for people that are ready for it. Go to lancewallnau.com/speedway, because we're going to do the program right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Speedway, where they do the hot laps. Take your 1-year goals and you break them down into quarterly rocks. That means maybe there's 3 rocks you're going to do. We call them rocks because they're substantial, big challenges. But these steps over the next year, you take that 1 year goal and you break it down into your 4 quarters in terms of what is our team focusing on. Everyone in your organization, if you've got a family business, all oars ought to be in the water, moving in unity, moving in prayer, moving in agreement, because God will create divine appointments to accelerate the journey. This is a Christian process for accelerated numbering of days and getting results. Your 1 year broken down into your 4 quarterly objectives, that you have your 3 rocks in each quarter that moves you towards that, so that 3, 6, 9, those 12 rocks create your boom, what you've done in your year. That gives you your plan for your 3 to 5 year thrust, which brings you to your big, holy, audacious outcome you want. Now that automatically drives down into your weekly and daily actions. You now know this month, these are the actions that we're actually wanting to do. These prioritize. Where are we focusing? And then, of course, that gives you your individual activity, because each individual has something that they've got to do. And these are called like KPIs or accountabilities. And a KPI is nothing more than a way of measuring a key productivity idea, or we're looking for the measurable results that individuals are responsible for. And that creates for you your pattern of communication. So now, instead of constantly having your hair on fire, dealing with the latest what if, you have a rhythm of daily communication. It's like a 10-minute call you do, where everybody accounts on where they're at and how they're doing, or what problems they're having, in being able to pursue that. Let me summarize it for you again. You take your big vision and you create something here. You make a statement that gives you the why you pay the price you pay to do what you do. It gives meaning even to the setbacks. They're all part of the blueprint. Then you come down to your 3 to 5 year. Here's what we really want to be able to do. This could be getting, like for me, it's a training center, getting it established. It's being able to analyze and magnify. How are we reaching the people we need to reach? And for me, a lot of it has to do with the 7 mountains. So I'm heavily involved with saving America. So I'm involved with media and governmental activity that is only in the not only in the United States, but in other nations. But that gives me my 1 year goal. There's only so much you can do, and God doesn't give you more than He can do. Quarterly priorities, these are the rocks. And the nice thing is you could change them as you move on. But you see, you change them because you've got strategic input. What happened this quarter that enables us to modify what we're going to do next quarter? But you're numbering your days with wisdom. And then Brother Ed Rush has his wisdom pyramid. He's going to show you. This is the structural, functional, how to build the multi-million-dollar business that is going to fund the kingdom vision. Doesn't get any more fun than that. So Ed, you have that beautiful pyramid next to your plant that you work with, your wisdom pyramid. And I think the people would love to hear from you what that looks like.
All right, what's up, Lance? Good to be back. So what you see here is a super cool tool called the Wisdom Pyramid. Now, if you look behind me, you'll see this plant that Lance and Hank and Rick make fun of me for all the time on Flashpoint, and Gene, because it dies all the time and then it always comes back to life. Well, usually behind it is this super tool called the Wisdom Pyramid. And today we're going to break this down and build it back up again. Now, primarily I work with business owners. So if you're in business, this is right for you. I mean, Lance and I have a coaching program specific for people in business. But even if you're not in business, this is a wonderful tool to help you make amazing decisions and to live a life of peace and ease and joy, called the Wisdom Pyramid. If you look at this, by the way, you can see on the left-hand side is effort, on the right-hand side is result. As you work your way to the bottom, you're putting in a lot of effort, struggling in a situation where you're grind. You may even use the word toil, the same word that you find in Genesis 3. When you're on the top, man, you're putting in just a little bit of effort. And you're in ease and flow. You're actually operating in a zone called easy and light. When Jesus said, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for my yoke is easy and light, you're operating in here. And there's a zone available for you as an entrepreneur, business owner, career person, or just a mom or dad trying to make your way in the world today, where it's a lot easier and a lot more peaceful. Let's start down at the bottom. This, by the way, this area of reaction, this is information, by the way, information stacked. This area of information is where about 99% of people in today's world live. If you engage in Twitter battles, or you see comments below the New York Times, articles, or you see people engaging in online debates about particular topics, A lot of times it's operating in this particular zone. You know you're there when you start feeling weighted down. And then you look up like 2 or 3 days later and you wonder like, what did I even do? What did I even accomplish? That's reaction. I think you can agree that you'd like to live as much as possible out of that. The second area is actually data. Now we live in a world that has actually exalted data to like godlike status, okay? But data is only data. We have a term in the Marine Corps. As a pilot, we used to say that numbers always lie and liars use numbers, okay? So like every once in a while you'll have data that's really representative, but really what is more important is the interpretation of the data. That's when you get into knowledge. And by the way, knowledge is the first place you can see on the wisdom pyramid where you actually flip effort and result. You're actually putting in less effort, getting a better result. This, by the way, if you own a business, this is where you start. This, by the way, is where AI stops. I'm going to talk about that in a second. This right here is where AI stops. So if you want to know what AI is capable of, what can it do for you, what it can't do for you, it stops right here. By the way, as a business owner, knowledge is actually the place where you start to invest in your business. Maybe you're going to hire a video person who's got knowledge on how to create beautiful, great trailers and videos and an amazing show like the one that you're watching right now. Or maybe you have a web person who's able to really help people, grow traffic to a certain business or something like that. Or maybe you've got a person who's got great knowledge in like health. They can maximize your appearance and optimize, your hormones or something like that. That's this area right here. But when you jump up, what you have is this wonderful spot called wisdom. And this is where you start cooking with grease. Wisdom is from a person who has been mentored by wisdom. This is from a person who's been connected at the hip to the wisdom character that you see in the Bible. And of course, at the top, you find divine wisdom. This is when you're putting in about 1% effort and getting about a 99% result. Now, this is the key. Most people, when making a decision about almost anything, start either here or here. They start by reacting to the decision that they have to make, or they start asking their friends, hey, like, what do you think about this? The place to start is right here. The first question, we talked about this on a previous show, is to ask God, what are you doing right now with this? What do you think about this? And to either journal the results or just listen and put it into your phone or something like that so that you can start to hear from God. I'll tell you, in the business coaching that I do, same with Lance, by the way, because we work in certain cases with the same clients in the same program, we start here. God, what are you saying about this person? What are you saying about this person's business? And sometimes you find it's significantly asymmetric. Now, last thing, AI is a huge thing. In fact, this summer's event, we're doing the God Talks event. We're going to talk about how to grow a business that's guided by divine wisdom and powered by AI. But the wonderful news, by the way, is AI will never pass this. To have wisdom, you have to be mentored by wisdom, and there's no chance that AI is going to be mentored by Lady Wisdom. And by the way, there's no chance that AI is going to be having a conversation with God, okay? So you're safe in this zone, by the way, from being taken over by, Skynet or something like that. But you should be able to leverage it to begin to outsource some things potentially and to begin to grow your business using AI. The bottom line, though, is the question starts with this. God, what do you have to say about this? Where are you going with this? When you do that with your business, your life, your relationships, it all gets better from there. All right, Lance, back to you. And good place to start. Now you can make fun of this thing that's sitting behind me.
Don't you love that? And so you see there's a great synergy between what Ed talks about and what I talk, which is why we like to work together to do business masterminds, bring together 50, 75 people at a time to concentrate on working with them for a couple of days. We'll be in San Diego for 2 or 3 days, helping them get clear on what God's called them to do and where they're at in their team. But you can get involved with this by going to lancewallnau.com/speedway. And I don't know, maybe we'll figure out a way that you can, if you can't make it to the Speedway, you can still see what we're doing. We'll work that out. But we'll know you're interested if you sign up, lancewallnau.com/speedway. And we'll give you probably 3 or 4 more of these special compressed nuggets of what we cover during our multi-day events. God bless you. See you again on the next episode.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more